Okay, these are notes on how to change a decimal into a fraction and then a fraction into a decimal. So for example, one thing that you're going to really have to know how to do is you're going to have to know how to read decimals in terms of their place value. So in this example, we have 0.9, which we know that one place after the decimal point is a tenth. So this would be written just as it sounds, 9 tenths. Okay, same thing over here. The 3, the last number in our decimal, is how we read what place value it is. This is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So this would be 13 thousandths. Remember that all fractions need to be in simplest form. Since 13 is prime, obviously this is in simplest form already. And since 9 and 10 do not share any common factors, that is also in simplest form. So if I were to give you a fraction here to change into a decimal, let's say I give you 5/8, and I say I would like this in decimal form. What you do is, it says up here, you divide the numerator by the denominator. And you may need to go several places past the decimal point in order to obtain a full decimal. So what this is you are going 8 into 5. So I'm going to show that up here. 8 into 5. Okay? Bottom into top. 8 cannot go into 5, so I have to add a decimal and a 0. When I add that decimal, remember that it gets carried up to the top here. 8 goes into 50 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Go ahead and subtract those. 2. I'm going to add a 0, bring that down. 8 goes into 20 2 times. Carry that out. 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract. It's 4. Add a 0. Bring that down. 8 goes into 40, a nice even 5 times. And that subtracts, and it works out very nicely. So 5/8 is equal to 0.625, or 625 thousandths. Another example, just to show you, is the example of 3/4. Now, I know I talked about in class that there are some fractions that you should really know the decimal equivalent. Anytime you see a 4 as your denominator, you should always think of quarters. Okay, there's 4 quarters in one whole, or 4 quarters in a dollar. So if we have 3/4, that would be 75 cents, or written as a decimal, 75 cents. If you have 1/4, 1 out of 4, 1/4, 1/4 is equal to 25 cents, or 0.25. If you have 2/4, that's 2/4, which can be reduced to 1/2, which is equivalent to 0.5. And if you didn't know those, you could still do the same method, dividing the denominator into the numerator, denominator into numerator. Denominator into the numerator, and you would still get the same decimal equivalent.